And welcome to Sunday Square Off. I'm Bram Resnick. The Republican primary to replace disgraced Congressman Trent Franks is heating up. The special primary election just 16 days away. Former state senator Steve Montenegro getting help from an outside group attacking his former Senate colleague Debbie Lesko. Last week you heard from Steve Montenegro on the show. Today, Debbie Lesko joins us. Polls indicate both are front runners in the 12-person field in that West Valley district. Also on the show, remember SB 1070 author Russell Pierce? He is now Deputy Maricopa County Treasurer, and he and his boss think Donald Trump made them investment geniuses. But what are they really doing with your money? Then some very awkward moments at a Capitol hearing. 9 men deciding whether female inmates should get more feminine hygiene products. And a charter school shuts down. The owner vanishes. We'll show you the warning signs the state charter school board ignored. We start with former state senator, now CD8 congressional candidate Debbie Lesko of Peoria. Good to see you again.
Thank you for having me, Brown.
So you're being attacked in a mailer that claims you do not support building President Trump's wall. When talking about your plan for the border, you told the Arizona Republic last December, quote, that doesn't necessarily mean a wall. So how much of a wall do you support?
Well, actually, the attack mailer is really disingenuous because the Arizona Republic article, that wasn't a quote from me. It was actually a statement made by the reporter. But if you look at the very next sentence, it says something to the effect that we need to put a wall, a border wall, in some places and increase technology in other places. So I actually support President Trump's agenda to build the wall where it makes sense. Some places you can't put a wall. You have to increase technology in other places. I also think we need to add more border agents, and we do need to end chain migration in the lottery, so the diversity lottery. So I actually agree with President Trump's agenda, and it's pretty sad that Steve Montenegro and his teams are going after me on something so disingenuous like that, because it's very clear. I'm the only candidate that even has a detailed border plan on her website.
So the president has talked about a wall across the border, and that's the way it's being interpreted by his supporters, but you're saying that won't work.
Well, I think that I've heard him say that we need a wall, but there's some places that you can't have a wall, and so you need technology. That's what I heard him say, and I agree with him. We need a wall where it makes sense. We need better technology where that makes sense. We need to increase the number of border agents. People want the border secured. They want to know who's coming into our country because government's #1 job is to protect its citizens.
You say on your website, quote, I have never seen a tax I didn't want to cut. Americans for Tax Reform, that's Grover Norquist's organization, says you broke your pledge to taxpayers to oppose all tax increases. In 2010, as you know, you voted to refer a sales tax increase, the largest in state history, to the ballot. So if you oppose every tax you've ever seen, why did you say yes on that tax?
Well, that wasn't a tax. I didn't vote on a tax increase. The voters voted for a tax increase, and I believe it passed with 65% of the vote.
It did, but you voted. I mean, what's the difference here? If you don't like any taxes, why would you vote yes?
I actually called the lobbyist that was paid, that represented Arizona tax reform or Americans' tax reform, and he said Grover Norquist, he was on the phone with them. He went back and forth on that to determine if it broke the pledge or not, and because we combined it with, I think, $600 million in tax cuts, and there's even an article that I found that said Grover Norquist said it did not break the pledge because we combined it with tax cuts.
Tax cuts came later. This was a straight $3 billion tax increase.
I can show you the article, but to make
so you were comfortable once voters approved it. You were comfortable with that tax, you're saying? Once voters approved it.
I personally voted against it at the ballot, but this was the voters that voted for it. They voted for a temporary sales tax increase when we were in the depths of a recession so that we could help fund education and health care and those type of things.
But wasn't that an easy no vote at the ballot? Because everyone knew it was going to pass overwhelmingly. There was no opposition to this. And furthermore, as you point out, the state desperately needed that money. And now Republicans can campaign saying, we saved the state, but they did it with a $3 billion tax increase.
Well, as you know, Bram, this was voted. We put it to the voters. They voted for it overwhelmingly. It ended. I agreed with Governor Doug Ducey at the time he was the treasurer, and I fought against the one that wanted to make it permanent. But unlike my opponent, Steve Montenegro, he actually voted in 2011 for a property tax increase. So I'm actually asking the Americans for Tax Reform if that violated the pledge.
Okay, Americans for Tax Reform playing a big role in this campaign. I want to keep talking about taxes and spending. If elected, you'll go to a Congress where Speaker Ryan has said he wants to cut Medicare and Social Security and other programs like that. It looks like something's going to have to be done because Republicans have passed a tax cut and a new spending plan that has added $1.5 trillion to our deficit. So, number one, would you have voted for that tax cut given the ballooning deficit it's created?
Yes, I would have voted for the tax cut.
Despite adding $1 trillion more to the deficit, yes.
Yes, I agree with giving people more money to keep in their pockets. What I do think we need to do is balance the budget, just like we did in our state legislature. I was the Senate Appropriations Chairman, and we need to cut spending elsewhere. I mean, I learned in state government that there's agencies that are bloated, and so you need to cut wasteful spending in other areas. We also do need to reform entitlement spending, but we have to protect the people that are relying on it right now. I think we should do what I did with pension reform for the firefighters and police. You work on reforming it for new people getting into the system down the road so that it can sustain the system, but you also have to protect the taxpayers.
Okay, so Speaker Ryan has said he wants to cut Medicare and Social Security. Where will you draw the line on those cuts? That's where most of the money is. Where will you draw the line on those cuts? Protect everybody in the program now?
I don't know exactly what Speaker Ryan said and what his plan is, but definitely you have to protect the people that are relying on it now. They have to be grandfathered in. If you work on
How about the people who've paid into it for many, many years as workers?
Yeah, if you change it, yeah, if you
because you've got your whole district is comprised, the voter rolls are comprised of all these people.
I think there's a lot of places that we can cut spending without going into cutting benefits where people have paid in for Social Security. And so, but you do need to reform it going forward for the new people, and that's what I did on pension reform. We protected the system by reforming it for the new people getting in, but protected the people that were relying on it.
All right, Debbie Lesko, thanks very much for joining us. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
When we come back, why do Deputy County Treasurer Russell Pierce and his boss think they're smarter than stock market wizard Warren Buffett? Plus, the subject was female inmates' need for more feminine hygiene products. It got very awkward for the all-male committee at the state capitol. Stay